Joining us right now to talk more about it, former Eli Lilly USA President and former Health and Human Services Deputy Secretary Alex Azar. Good to see you, Alex. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Maria. Good to see you again.
So tell us from your standpoint how this sits with you. The House health care bill took 2 tries to pass. This is the 2nd try now for the Senate. Is this just part of the process, or how do you see this pending bill?
This is completely part of the process. So I think it was overly ambitious to think that you could release the bill and the CBO score coming out this week and you'd get to a vote already. The thing, and this is what I've been telling folks in Washington, what I think the Republican leadership has failed to do is articulate where they're trying to go. We know the problems with Obamacare, but we haven't done a very good job explaining what we're trying to do with this replacement and fixing it. And you're trying to basically bring your conservative and moderate wings together. The conservative wing would like to get rid of the subsidies, individual entitlement, Medicaid expansion. Moderate wing wants to keep the Medicaid expansion basically as is and wants to just create greater individual and state flexibility on the individual insurance side. Those are a pretty wide gap, but I think they're going to be able to thread this needle, give Mitch McConnell enough time. I think they can do that.
Yeah, it's exactly what Dagan McDowell just said. It's really about messaging, not fundamentals, Dagan.
Well, I want to point out that 22 million number, it was slightly higher for the House bill in terms of the number of people who will not have insurance in a decade. This is based on the current projections. It's because they choose not to buy it.
Choose not to.
Because these bills get rid of the individual mandate and they get rid of the employer mandate, which has really hurt small businesses. The problem with this bill, the more that I look at it, and I don't think that it's a bad bill, but it is financially oriented. It's meant to fix the mushrooming problem that is Medicaid, returning it or going to block grants from being an open-ended entitlement. It is about the finances. It's about cutting taxes in this country that have hamstrung businesses, that have prevented smaller businesses from hiring. But in terms of messaging, the Republicans, people just want more health care, they want cheaper health care, and they don't have a message on that.
Hey,
that's the issue.
Alex, it's Robert Wolf. How are you? It
Good,
seems,
thank you.
I agree with you on the idea that there's a good chance they thread the needle here. But it seems to me that there are 3 buckets of naysayers currently. You have someone like Heller in Nevada, who it's just a struggle for him with his upcoming election in 2018. Then you have the other bucket of conservatives who want really, government out of the way. And then you have the other bucket of, the moderates that care about Planned Parenthood, opioid abuse, and or Medicaid that's going on, whether it's Portman, Susan Collins, Murkowski, so on. It seems to me as you change one, let's just say it's easier to align with the conservatives because that's where the House is. It makes it very difficult to, in my opinion, how they hold the moderates together. It seems like they're much more of a bloc. How do you see them kind of, negotiating that?
Yep. So the real gift that Mitch McConnell has is that the CBO score gave him about $200 billion of savings above the House bill. So that's really money that he can play with under the reconciliation rules. So what's going to happen over the next week, and I'm sure they were already doing this, is working with Heller and Collins and Cassidy and other moderate votes to see what can they do to shore up Medicaid funding, maybe scale back the glide slope of federal matching cuts in Medicaid, maybe opioid grants for Caputo, just go through the list. That's $200 billion there. I actually think the moderate side of this is easier to solve. The conservative side, fundamentally, there's a view that to get rid of the Medicaid expansion. This bill does not get rid of the Medicaid expansion. It scales back the enhanced federal matching grants on the expansion and slows the rate of growth as a result of federal expenditure in Medicaid. It also keeps and reaffirms a 350% of federal poverty level individual subsidy for insurance. That's a tough pill to swallow for some of the conservatives who just want straight repeal. That's where I think it's going to get difficult. But there is so much in here appealing from a free market conservative perspective. I think they get on board eventually.
Yeah, and you said it. It's not cuts. It's slowing the growth. So you were at the White House earlier this week with the president when the reform came up. You spoke to Vice President Mike Pence about it a few weeks back. What are you hearing from the administration? Can you give us any color in terms of your meeting at the White House this week?
Well, in my interactions with folks at the White House and HHS, people are very optimistic that they'll be able to thread the needle here. It's going to take time. This is really historic legislation from a free market conservative perspective in their views, which is you've got the largest entitlement reform in the history of the Republic with Medicaid. You're going to put Medicaid on a more sustainable footing going forward and actually empower states to run Medicaid instead of an open-ended state and individual entitlement, actually give states accountability and responsibility for managing that program. You're going to shore up this individual market that's collapsing under Obamacare. You're going to get these cost-sharing subsidies for the next 3 years are going to be reaffirmed so the markets can calm down about that.
Right.
And you're going to have lower premiums because you fix a lot of the federal regulation that was screwing up the individual market under Obamacare.
Yeah, that was an important point, Peter, that the premiums will be down in the double digits pretty significantly.
I think one of the things that raises to me is you're seeing a lot of volatility in the stock market in these healthcare names. Healthcare stocks, the biotech ETF was up 9% in 3.5 days. What advice would you have people who are trying to trade every twist and turn of what's going on in Washington?
Don't.
I would say don't.
Sorry, Alex, I answered the question for you.
Leading question, my mistake.
If this legislation gets through, there are going to be important tax cuts coming for the pharmaceutical industry, the insurance industry, the device industry. That'll, be really important. But betting on the timing of those and size of those is, I think, a fool's errand, because it may be that the $200 billion that Mitch McConnell now has and is available to make deals with is enough. It may be that he needs more, in which case maybe there's a 1 year further delay in the repeal of various taxes to create money. We don't know what's going to have to happen over the next couple of weeks to bring those moderates on board, and it may take money and more than he's got.
All right, we will be watching that. So short answer, don't trade this development right now. Alex, good to see you, sir. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Alex Azar joining us there. Coming